It wasn't terrible. Sliced it, but at least it got some air.
Weather's getting nice, 29 and a half, turning 30 eventually. And just figured this was the best time in my life to learn how to play golf. So last week I posted a fun little video about where I am in that process of learning how to play golf. So if you haven't seen that video already, definitely check it out because we're gonna break it down here. Today's video is sponsored by the Extraordinary Art List, where all the music and sound effects in that short film came from. In this video breakdown, I think the most common word that you're gonna hear come out of my mouth is the word simple, because I like to keep things simple in my filmmaking. And I know that maybe that video for you, that golf video, doesn't seem so simple from the outside, but I promise you, as we start to break this down and shine some light on how I did things, you're gonna see just how achievable all this stuff is for you. First thing I like to get out of the way first, let's talk about the gear list. It's gonna be repetitive for those of you who watch the channel often, because I keep my gear list very simple, very the same thing pretty much every time. Camera, I shoot on my Sony FX3. Not updated firmware. I know the newest volume 2 of the firmware just came out. I haven't updated to that. I haven't even updated to the first firmware update. I have the OG firmware in my FX3. I don't even know how to change it. Probably will never change it. It works for me, so I'm just gonna stick with it. Then lensing, my Sony 24-70 f2.8, use it on pretty much everything. Then for filtration, the filter I have screwed onto the front of the lens in the golf video, and one that's on there right now, is the Tiffin 1/4 black satin. Just takes the edge off the digital look of the lens and sensor of the FX3. Majority of this video is naturally lit. For the shots I did use a light, it was typically just one light. It was either in the studio stuff, my aperture, I think it's a 300X with this soft dome that's like right here. And the other light that I used on the fly when we're outside and I need a little punch of light was my little Namlight Pavo tube, the old ones that they sent me like 5 years ago. So let's actually dive into the short film now, and the first scenes I want to break down are these nighttime driving range type shots, because that's what we open with. So we found a cool little driving range that had some unique looking stalls and lighting already. So I was able to call them up and ask if we could rent the place out for an hour after they closed. Just paid them a couple $100 to keep it open for us. So most of these shots are just naturally lit. This is just the lighting that was there and available to us. I had a lot of shots that I wanted to get at this driving range at night, and we only had an hour to get all those shots. And I would rather get those shots than waste time getting, the perfect lighting that's maybe a 5 to 10% incremental value increase to the production, when I'd rather get the shots in the can than waste time just trying to get that little bit extra better looking shot. So here I am, the subject. We have a little light bulb behind me that we're using kind of as like our main practical lighting. There's a light bulb just like straight over top of me that's lighting the side of my face here. And then the only thing that we did to manipulate the light is in the stall right in front of me, we unscrewed one of the light bulbs that was up there, and that's actually my new intern Karsten that I'm cheerleader lifting into the sky to unscrew that. Karsten helped on this shoot with camera operating, grip, gaffing. He did an incredible job. And it was super valuable, especially since I was the subject of the film. This is just really nice composition. I had the leading lines of the stall. This shot is on screen for what, like half a second. The time it would have taken to manipulate the lighting would have taken 30 to 45 minutes to get it absolutely perfect. And then we would have just gotten 1 or 2 shots. But because we kept it simple, because we just relied on really nice composition, really nice movements and actions and sound design, we were able to get a ton of shots at this location. In my personal opinions, most of the heavy lifting of cinematography is done with the locations. So if you can just find the right locations, you can go into that location and make the lighting situations easier for yourself, because you can probably do less and just set up really nice looking frames for in what you have. Do you like this film grain I got going on? I'm really into the filmic look that I have going on here. There's some halation going on, the little light bulbs here. Just really looks cool. You know, something I do to make up for that small margin of production value that I lose by not taking the time to perfectly light everything, I think I make up for in my ability to sound design scenes. If you listen to this, you know. It feels like you're kind of there. You're like in this world. If I were to play this without this sound design, without this ambience that I was able to build, it sounds really flat and really dull, and you know, you kind of start to feel the lack of production value. But because I built up this audio to really surround your sensory of sounds, it feels so much higher of a production value. And to build that ambience, I stacked a couple of layers of things. I went to Artlist, you know, I typed in night ambience, if I can spell. I ended up with farm experience ranch night ambience, but you got those little night bugs, and I added that in. You're hearing like a little bit of an electric buzz, and you know, you have these industrial lights overhead, and those lights always kind of have like this electrical hum or buzz noise. So what I did, I went to Artlist, I typed in, you know, electric buzz. Yeah, I don't know what sound I found exactly, but I found a bunch of good sounds, put some reverb on them, stacked them on top of each other. And then the last one, you can just like kind of briefly just hear a few golf hits, a few like last minute golfers standing by hitting some balls. Artlist has a bunch of golf sound effects, so I just typed in driving range. Yeah, so many good sounds. Yeah, Artlist has a ton of great sound effects, always has something that I can find and use in my films. And equally as great is the music that they have. I found the music for this short film in Artlist. So for the last film that I made, I actually set up a collection of music for An Ordinary Day in 2023, if you've seen that video that I posted a couple weeks ago. But in that list, I had the song Patiently Waiting by Kyle Cox. Patiently waiting on my dreams to come true. So just by browsing the collection that I already made, I instantly found the song that I was gonna use. And I like to kind of find the music in the conceptualizing phase of my process, just to see if it sparks any ideas. And this song certainly kind of inspired the pace of the film. Artlist is great, sound effects, music, stock footage, what other assets that you're going to need to build out your films. There's a link in my description below where you can get 2 free months added when you sign up for an annual subscription. It's great. Thank you, Artlist, for sponsoring this video for us. Moving on. So the next group of shots that I want to touch on are these like little insert shots. Super fun, right? I love this kind of stuff. I love working the sound design and the edit and like finding little ways to like show off my editing skills and show off that, you know, I don't just make dumb sports films. I love sports, but it's not the same thing that you see over and over again. So I think these little insert shots really help to demonstrate my style as a filmmaker and show like that I'm a little bit different. So I say my irons are hot. My putts smell like butter. But one really cool thing that I want to know about these insert shots is I really like to transition through composition and shapes. And when we're going through this, look at this shape that we have here. It's this like downward triangle of the iron that's spraying us. The next shot, we have the same shape in the ironing board and the iron on top. So these two kind of feel like a seamless cut, and it feels really easy for your eyes to follow along without you, I guess, consciously realizing that. And then on top of that, look at my arms in the next shot, that same downward triangle. So right away, we have 3 shots in a row to just like make sure your mind and eyes feel at ease as you're watching this. And that's all stuff that I plan out in, you know, my pre-production phase. It's something that I'm hyper aware of when I'm conceptualizing a film. Here we go again with the same thing. My putts smell like butter. Right there. You know, it's very jarring to cut from outside exterior golf to a table with a stick of butter on it. So how can you make that transition easier for the viewer's eyes? And you're just getting this same circular shape here. It goes right to this. It looks awesome. I'm stoked on how that transition turned out. Then the last grouping of shots I want to touch on is just this little ending montage right here. So play.
Imagining one day I'll be one of them, but patiently waiting till then.
All these shots in the montage are naturally lit, no bouncing, nothing, just using what's available. You notice that in these shots, it feels a little sharper, a little more energetic in all these shots compared to, I guess, what you would see in normal footage in the rest of the film. And the reason for that is I like to crank the shutter a little bit when I'm shooting more action-based stuff to give it a little more energy. And what that means is taking your shutter and raising it up to be quicker so that you're getting less slow motion blur. The actions are a little bit sharper. And you would typically get that with shutter angle, but I didn't update the firmware on my FX3. So what I'm doing is just taking the shutter speed and taking it from 50 from what it's usually at when I'm shooting 24 frames per second, and just boost it up to, I think we had it around 80. So just it created a little bit sharper effect without it overdoing it, and I think that gives more life and energy to these shots. And it's just a nice variety of shots with a lot of really good sound design.
One day I'll be one of them, but patiently waiting till then.
Even when I'm here,
One day I'll be
bringing the golf club back, you're hearing like a from left to right in your ears or whatever direction it was. And those are all whooshes. Those are all golf sounds that I found within Artlist. If you just type in golf on Artlist, there's a million really great sounds that you can use and combine to build a really good, compelling sound design. Obviously, the main reason for wanting to do golf is because I'm learning, and it's something that I could kill two birds with one stone, have fun, and get myself to actually do it, go out, play golf while also going out and making a video. So it was a no-brainer to make it at this time. But also, I really love the sound of golf, the swings, hitting the ball, the whips, and everything that you get when you're listening to golf. And so I knew, I'd be able to crush the sound design, and I think that's probably one of the better aspects of this film. There's obviously people who like the complicated route and like doing it with a huge crew, like all the gear and all that. But if you're someone who's stuck in a position where you can't get yourself to go out and film stuff because you're so overwhelmed by all of these factors, and it's creating this paralysis for you, just simplify it. Just make it as simple as possible for yourself. Find something that you enjoy right now. Keep the gear simple. Don't worry about making it perfect. Just go out and make the thing, because having it done is so much more important than having it be perfect. None of my movies, none of my videos will ever be perfect, but I'll be 10 steps ahead of 99.9% of people because I've actually made the thing. And I think that's where a lot of my success has come, or how I define success. It's not necessarily, maybe you don't see me as successful, but I've found, in my head, I'm successful because I've made the thing, and that's a huge success in itself. Thank you again, Artlist, for sponsoring this video. If you're interested, there's a link down in my description below. Incredible platform. I actually use it in all my films now. Yeah, coming up, we got the first couple private screenings of my movie, I Think I'm Sick. It'll be awesome to show people this in real life, all the people who helped support the film. So looking forward to that. Hopefully make a video just highlighting those events, which will, I'm sure, be fun. Until then, take care. Go out, shoot something, keep it simple. Love you. Bye.
I haven't been here yet, so this is the first time. Nice shot, brother. I'm not actually good at golf.